This is Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, and this is the Way to Go podcast, where we talk about faith, family, and daily life, putting the Bible into practical, everyday terms. Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. Bill McMinn, Steve Sargent from the Hiawatha Church of God in Christ.
Thank you.
Dude, I've said that so many times.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it down pat.
It's been a while since I've said it, so then I was wondering, will I say it right? It's been a while, but I think I said it so many times. I just like saying it. I just like the sound of it.
Thank you.
I wouldn't like writing it out all the time, though. So what's the shortened version? Like if you're
C-O-G-I-C. Hiawatha, C-O-G-I-C.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you ever just call it Hiawatha?
Mm-hmm.
Like people around in the
It took a while
community?
for some people to even get the pronunciation of that, especially people out of our area.
Right.
Yeah. But Hiawatha is a much more common name than you think.
Well, since you're an Indian church, basically, when it's high.
There's streets called Hiawatha in New York, Cleveland. They're in a lot of places.
Right, because Hiawatha is a famous Indian.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And now history's eluding me. I couldn't really tell you why, but I've seen the name a ton of times too.
Yep.
I'm sure on old medicine bottles and everywhere else, it was just a famous name. Now, how's the church going since you've been installed? when was that? Was a summer?
June 22nd. You and your wife were there.
Yeah, we were there.
Very glad to see you. It was a great time. We are continuing to develop and grow.
Good.
Our goal is to do our part in winning the world for Jesus Christ. And in fact, we're going to be partnering with the Lake Erie Correctional Institute, and we're going to be streaming a service with them simultaneously.
Good. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome.
So they will be able, their group will be singing in our worship service. We'll be able to see them, and they'll be able to see our service.
You'll be able to see them too.
Mm-hmm.
Like where? Like up
on from the institution, because they have a nice core group, great musicians. We do different church services with them. They have a great band, a great choir, so they'll be in worship with us we're at our church.
So sometimes they're going to be playing songs for you.
Oh, they
on
will
the screen?
be. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you'll pump that music into your...
Mm-hmm. And our people will be able to see it live, and they'll see us.
Right.
So it's like we're having church together from two different places.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's really
it's incredible.
Great. I love it. How about your Wednesday night ministry? Because we used to talk about you coming up and doing like our Wednesday night with us, and then you started one, and you had like you were doing kids, you're doing a food, before.
Right. Our Wednesday night is being reorganized. In fact, we just had a meeting 2 weeks ago. So we're reorganizing it, and by the spring, we'll be up and running again. Okay. We reached a nice peak where we averaged like 50 people on Wednesday night, which was very good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the food, the teaching, we even partnered with a counseling service to have them come in. Like they spent like 3 weeks talking about bullying and things of that nature. And we're working we formed a group. Our church has a separate 501c3 called Hiawatha Life Skills Development Corp. And we're partnering with a group that is forming a learning center in honor of one of our members who passed away. It's called the C.J. Prentice School of Learning, and they'll be working with kids from our area to get them ready to go to trade school, college, etc., along with their family, like whoever their guardians are, and teachers who are interested.
Now, are you preaching every week?
Yeah.
Or
every now and then we have a guest or something, or like we have a special day, like on Mother's Day. One of the senior mothers from our church was our speaker.
Well, Steve, technically, if the prison can pump in the music and you're singing with their band, they might someday the church might say, "Hey, Steve, we really want to hear the prisoner speak."
Well, you know what? That's not a bad idea because
right?
I've heard a number of them,
right?
And I'm sure in time we'll have them share their story or testimony too.
The church is growing. Church is doing well.
We've had a lot more people who had never been to our church come. So I'm sure some out of interest or because it's something different or new.
Right.
But we have more people probably over the past year just to stop by or visit from the area, not like somebody from out of town.
And what's your title now?
My title? Pastor.
Okay, just Pastor Steve.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good enough.
Good.
You don't have to call me sire. Or some of the other names
Chief
that we
Steve,
can't say on the air.
Chief Steve from Hiawatha.
Yeah.
Chief Steve's from Hiawatha Church of God in Christ. No, I'm glad it's going well, and I was excited for you. I mean, we have been talking about that for years,
Sure.
I mean, between the two of us, about that day coming, you know, when you would be able to assume the leadership role there at the church, and, you know, I want it to go well, and
Yes, well,
and
thank
all
you.
that kind of stuff. So,
And may I take a moment to appreciate you and Eagleville for your support every year for the Samaritan House's Miracle Mile that we do on Thanksgiving Day. You guys, you're the largest single group that we have that come every year.
they love it.
Yeah.
They love, we do usually get 40, 50 people
Yeah.
that come
You're
out to that.
you're about 20% of the total that comes every year.
Right.
We really appreciate you.
No, we're glad to do it. So we try to support it and get. I think now, even if I didn't say anything, I think they'd all be there.
Yeah.
Like, we're so used to doing it every year. So, and it was fun. I got to push my grandson down the hill.
Yes,
So
yes.
that didn't sound good. I pushed my grandson down the hill. He was in a stroller. It was good. It was all good. He was smiling. He liked it. So no, it was great. But anyway, in Proverbs 6, I wanted to talk about that some. You know, after catching up with you, and I was going over this. I did one Bible study on Job. So now I've been preaching a few sermons from them, and that's a phenomenal book.
Yes,
like,
it is.
I would say that in reading it prior, I would just kind of get lost in it. And outside the first two chapters and towards the end, you knew there were some good verses in there, but it was like, I don't know, you kind of get lost in the redundancy of all the, you know, you did something bad, I didn't, you did something bad, I didn't, you did something bad, I didn't. But it was a super fascinating book to go through. I really felt like I learned a lot there. So now I'm staying with the wisdom literature on Wednesday night. So now we're in Proverbs. And so we were talking last night, and Proverbs 6 is great. You know, my son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in a pledge for a stranger, if you have been trapped by what you said and snared by the words of your mouth, so do this, my son, free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands, and go to the point of exhaustion. Get moving, right? Get out of that security. And security would be co-signing for a loan.
Right.
In our day. So it would be, you're making a pledge, you're putting up security on somebody else's business proposition or some loan or debt that they had, and you've gotten yourself included. And so this Bible verse is saying, hey, you need to get yourself out of that situation as fast as you can. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree. But it is because it's an added burden that you put on yourself.
Right.
If the person, for whatever reason, can't take care of that loan, you're responsible. In addition to whatever burdens you already have, now you're taking on someone else. A lot of times it is too much.
Right. A woman, she told us a story last night in my Bible study, and she was saying that somebody came to her one time and wanted her to co-sign a loan, and she said, well, I want to pray about it for 24 hours. I just want to pray about it before I do that. And the woman was all ticked and mad at her, wouldn't even give her a chance to pray about it. She goes, well, if I'm not allowed to pray about it,
there you go.
then I'm not going to do it. Here she found out later, the woman goes bankrupt every 7 years. She would have been co-signed that loan. It would have taken her into bankruptcy. So she was glad she didn't, obviously, at that point. But I think of the co-signing, usually I think for parents that would come up when your child's maybe getting their first car or going to college and things like that. But I tried to avoid all that. I did avoid all that stuff. I just said, no, I'm not. I did a lot to help my kids pay for college.
Right.
And I didn't mind that, but I'm not going to be attached to somebody else's debt.
That's right.
I'm not going to put up my house if I'm doing a business. I don't want to put up my house for collateral. I don't want to put up anything that I might lose.
Yeah, because it is an added burden, and there's always that chance that you whatever you're co-signing for,
right?
It always looks good in the beginning, at least to the person who needs your help.
I think if you're business partners, I think it would be different. I think if you're going into business with someone, obviously both your names are going to be on the loan, but otherwise, no. But here's another one. I like this. Go to the ant, sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer, no ruler, yet it stores its provision in summer and gathers its food in harvest. How long will you sit there, sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? When will you get up? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. What do you think about that one?
That's very powerful. It's actually one of my favorite little stories in the Bible because I've observed ants.
Right.
And watched how they work and studied their their jobs. They're born, most of them, just to work.
Right.
They know their mission. They don't go to ant school and learn how to gather things for the winter. They're born knowing that this is my job, and this is how we're going to perpetuate our species.
Right. Have you ever gotten a chance to study them on your kitchen floor?
Yes, I did, because
chased out food. Right.
Like every spring, I would find an ant here or there.
Right.
So I'd go and do my research.
Big ants or little ants?
The smaller ones.
Smaller ones, okay.
Yeah. And they have a path that they follow to get in.
Right. Now, my wife will, if she sees one ant, we have an ant problem every time. It makes me laugh every time. We have an ant problem. I'm like, it's one ant. There's one ant. There's more ants. There's always more ants than the one ant. So I'm like, okay. But I've seen them. I mean, they obviously carry things way bigger than themselves. And I've seen this little tiny ant carrying some bug back to the hive or the nest, whatever you call it. And I mean, they're all over the property. Fortunately, my wife has pretty much eradicated them from the kitchen. I don't see them there that often. But I love the fact that he just starts out sluggard. Right. Go to the end, sluggard. And I just can't imagine. I was talking to them last night. I said, I can't imagine standing up in the pulpit and just calling the entire congregation sluggards. Hey, sluggards. And that's just your approach to it. Say sluggard. Get moving. Because some people might, I think be a little offended by that, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But the truth is, if we don't prepare for what we know is going to happen, we're going to have a winter.
Right.
And to not prepare for it at all is foolish. The ant knows, hey, I don't care how nice it is outside, how sunny and dry and warm, it's going to be snowing. It's going to be extremely cold. We will not be able to go out like this. We have to prepare for it.
Right.
So they spend all of their summertime getting ready for what we're going through right now.
I would agree. I mean, it's about survival.
Yes.
You got to lay up. You got to work hard. They used to always say, make hay while the sun's shining.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, you couldn't make it when it's wet.
Yeah.
Not in those days, because it was all rectangle bales. And that was always a super big deal. I worked on a crop farm, actually, and they had 1,500 acres total. We would rectangle bale 100 acres of. And so when you were haying, you started let's say 7:30 in the morning, and you're going to go till dark. If it was a nice day and not raining, you were going to go to get all of that hay. And this is all hand pitching it into hay mows and up conveyors and all that kind of stuff. So the big deal at first when they would rake it is when it was dry enough to bale it. Because if it's wet and it's under compression, then that's where fires begin. So they were always very concerned about not having the hay bale wet, and it had dryness. So they would have probes that they would stick into the grass to make sure that it wasn't too wet. As soon as it was dry enough, they baled it. And when you baled it, you had to get it in as fast as you possibly could before it get wet again, because you don't want to burn your barn down later on.
Wow.
So make hay while the sun shines that's legit, because you can't put it away back in that day when it's wet. Now, I don't know with all the round bales and things that they do now, they're not really storing it in barns. So I don't know what their rules are for that today.
Well, I never knew that, which you just said.
But you got to get after it now, I think is the point. You got to get moving. And I like the industry of the ant, like how industrious the ant is. They busy themselves. They're not sitting around complaining about things and wondering about things. They just get out there and get stuff done. That, to me, is way more the model, as opposed to the person who's just kicking back, feet propped up, folding their hands, a little slumber, a little rest, because they'll get at it tomorrow. I mean, that's always the goal. I'll get after it tomorrow.
Procrastination. I also like the way that the ant communicates with each other. They don't have cell phones.
That's true.
But their antenna, they can communicate with each other, and they can say, like, hey, Bill, I found a piece of candy over here. And they can come, to others. So if you do find something like that and you see one ant, and soon you'll have a whole group, because they're communicating with each other.
Right.
They're not like, hey, I found this is mine, leave me alone. They share. They live in a colony together. Everything they do involves each other.
Yeah, teamwork. I mean, there's individual efforts, obviously, because we've all seen an individual ant slugging something back that
he's taking it
you can't believe it can even pick up. But then
he's taking it to the group.
I've seen many times out by my barn, huge piles of ants together. They're swarming. I guess they're changing nests or something like that. It's unbelievable to see it. I mean, they're just crawling all over each other, and like, it's not a ball, but It's a dense pile of ants, and I leave them be. Like, I don't care about what the ants are doing outside. It's like, I do leave them be if they're not bothering me.
You didn't get it. I said you leave the ants.
Yeah. I do, Steve. Okay. No, I just think you got to work hard, and I really believe that in life. If you want something, get out there and work for it. Yeah. Nobody's giving you anything. You need to put some effort forth, and a lot of times, like for myself, to pay for projects around the house, then I'll side hustle. Especially, I put my kids through college that way, and then now that I stopped doing it for a while, then I got back to it because we had a patio and we had a roof project. Now there's a bathroom renovation, and so we just buy, sell stuff, and it's a lot of fun. I really love doing it, but it's just staying. I don't know. It's better than doing nothing.
Sure.
Right? I've talked to other people. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, I talked to a guy, and he owns a restaurant. So I was asking him, he's way past retirement age. And I asked him, why are you doing this? Because he said, we pay no money from this at all. Like, our restaurant, we take no paycheck from it whatsoever. So it's him and his wife. They just work. I said, why would you do that? And he said, what else would I do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit around. Right. I'm not going to do nothing. And he goes, it helps these people. These people are like my family. It provides a service. He looked at it like it's not just about him. He still wants to stay busy. He goes, because I see what happens to people when they don't. Yeah. He said, and to be honest with you, I've had my friends stop working and they died.
That's right.
And I don't want to do that. I want to keep going. I'm like, okay,
That's the school my parents came from, especially my dad. My dad didn't retire completely until he was 86.
Wow.
He wanted to stay busy. And that's the school they came from. My neighbor was like 95. She would be outside trying to shovel snow in her driveway. And I went over to her and I rebuked her. I said, what are you doing? Just let me know. We'll take care of it. And she said, Steve, I've got to stay busy or I'm going to die.
Right.
And that is the school they came from. And I'm telling you, it's true. It is really true. You got to stay busy.
I used to tell my grandmother, I used to cut lawns for a business that I had when I was first married. And so we would work and we'd do it in the evenings as it turned out. And so I would stop in and eat at my grandma's house. I'd go mow her friend's lawn. So I'd go mow her friend Doris's lawn. Then I'd come back and get dinner with my grandma, and she was thrilled. She was thrilled to see myself and Jerry. And I always tell her, I'm not mowing your lawn, because she was in her 80s. I said, it's better for you, or maybe 70s at that time. She was up there. I said, it's better for you to get out there. And she had a big lawn. She'd be out there with a push mower, pushing it. Oh, wow. Yeah. And I said, it's better for you. She lived to about 90 years old. So, she lived a good long life. But a lot of it, she was ultra spry. It was unbelievable how well she could keep up with you, and how healthy she was. Yeah. But she kept in shape. And she kept busy. And I've had people say to me, why don't you go to a condo? Why do you want to live where you've got all this property to take care of and garden? I'm like, because that to me, I look at it as like, that's health. Are you kidding? Like, doing stuff like that is healthy. It's great. I like it. So keeping busy is productive. It's healthy. It's helpful. All of it. So go to the ant. Now, one I'll take up at the next one we will do is the difference between, or the passage says, troublemaker and a villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth and stirs up trouble. So we'll talk about that one, because we've seen that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we can kind of have a chit chat about that a little bit. But for today, work hard. That's one thing. And also watch how you spend your money.
That's right.
I would say, and we shouldn't be, I'm sorry I can't co-sign for you if you need me to. So I'm sorry.
Can you co-sign for me to get another pair of Converse?
I would on the Converse. I would buy you another pair of Converse. If you needed me to, I would. If you got hard up like the 60 shoes you have, or 70, or how many pairs is it now?
72.
70. Your 72 pairs of shoes wasn't enough?
I give them away. I won't go over that number. I had moved up from 65, but every time I get a new pair, I give a pair away.
He likes shoes.
Yeah.
If you don't know Steve, this guy here, he likes his shoes. And we all like something. You know what I'm saying? And you like shoes. So.
And I get them at most shoes I buy. If it's not a deal, I don't get them.
Right.
You can always find a deal. So if it's not a deal, I won't get
Well, especially when you're in a position to look for a deal.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of backup.
Yeah.
That's why whenever you come in, I got to check out the shoe. I got to what's he wearing today? Like, what's he got on? So anyway, hey, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. We're going to do another podcast too, and you guys can catch that one in the next one. But for each and every one of you, have an awesome and a blessed week.